Recovering a configuration manager site is something that we usually perform when the site fails or we suffer some form of data loss in the site database. So in this hands-on lab nugget, we're going to go full circle and look at how to back up a site from within Configuration Manager and walk through the recovery process. In our previous nugget, we configured the backup site server task and executed it manually using the service from the services snap-in. And the result here is we have a local snapshot of that backup. And then we also configured the after backup batch file to kick off a PowerShell script to archive that snapshot into its own directory up there on our file server. So we're going to do this again, only this time entirely through Configuration Manager. We'll start with a backup, which will overwrite this snapshot, and then after backup, we'll create another directory for today's date containing that snapshot. So let's bring Configuration Manager up. We'll head into monitoring, and from here we want to expand system status and component status. This will list all of the components and background processes inside of Configuration Manager. And what we're looking for here, if we scroll down a little bit, is the SMS site backup component. If we right click on this and head to Start and launch the Configuration Manager Service Manager, this will again show us all of the components and allow us to query and manage them, including running and stopping. So what we're going to do here is expand components and again look for the SMS site backup component. There it is, and there it is. So first we're going to right click on this and hit Query, and that will show us that it's currently stopped. Now if we want to start a backup, we can right click on it and choose to start. The nice thing about going this route rather than the services snap-in is that this will stop the service once it's done. Otherwise the service will just continually run in the background. So at this point we can sit here and continually query this component. Once it's done, it'll turn to a stop status. But this backup does take about 10 to 15 minutes to run here. In fact, we can watch this in action by looking at these directories. So we can see here that it already blew away the previous local backup. Once it's done, this will fill up. There'll be a new directory here for today's date containing that snapshot. So I'm going to give this about 10 minutes to complete. All right, so that finished up wonderfully. Let's head back into Configuration Manager Service Manager here, and let's re-query this component, and we can see that it stopped. So we know that it finished up. Another thing we can do here, if we close out of this and head back into Configuration Manager, is just right-click and look at the messages to see what happened here for this process. And we can say in the last day or last hour, and we can get the step-by-step details of what happened here. And we can see that everything looks good, and it also kicked off after backup.bat. Now let's walk through the recovery process. Let's say that something bad happened either at the site level or within our site database, and we needed to perform a recovery. And let's say that we wanted to use yesterday's backup. We have one since we archived it, so we can go into yesterday, head into cd.latest, and launch splash.hta. On the splash screen, we'll hit the install link, and this will take us through what looks like a standard installation of SCCM. But if we hit next past the opening screen there, notice recover a site is our default selection. And also note that this option is only available when you run from cd.latest. So it's grayed out if you were to run this from a standard installation media. So from here we're going to hit next, and that will ask us just a couple of questions here around recovery. Here's how this works. The top section is used to recover your site server. The bottom section is used to recover your site database. This top section will be grayed out, as it is here for us, if you're running this on a machine where you already have a site installed. So if we were to run this on another machine, say FileNug, these would be available to us to either recover from a backup or completely reinstall the site server. Down here with the site database, you have some options as well. You can recover the site database using a backup set, which is what we'll eventually do here. If you do not have a backup set for the database layer, then you can create a new database for the site, or if you manually back up your database separate from your site, then you can use a site database that has been manually recovered and just point to it. Let's go ahead and use the first option here, and we'll enter the path here over to FileNug, Backups, and we'll choose yesterday's backup. From here we can hit next and choose what we want to recover here, central administration site or primary site. That's our only option since it's all we have here is a standalone primary site, and the rest is just like walking through a standard installation of Configuration Manager. So this is the process that you'll use to recover your site server and or your site database when disaster strikes. In the CBT Nugget, we covered the process used for backing up and recovering a Configuration Manager site. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.